The champagne glass didn't shatter when Lydia dropped it. It just rolled across the marble floor of her own bedroom, spilling gold liquid like blood from a wound. On her husband's laptop screen, left carelessly open, was a photo gallery. Victor at the mayor's gala. Victor at the charity auction. Victor at the theater opening. Always the same woman beside him, draped in designer clothes, wearing Lydia's smile. But this woman wasn't his mistress. She was his wife. At least, that's what every caption said. Mrs. Hale. Mrs. Victor Hale. The woman who didn't exist was Lydia herself. Before we dive into Lydia's story, I need you to do something for me. If this opening grabbed you, if you want to see how a woman erased from her own life reclaims her power, hit that like button right now and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Now, let's begin. The morning had started like every other morning in the Hale residence. Lydia woke at 6:30, alone in the California king bed she technically shared with Victor. The sheets on his side were cold and undisturbed. He'd slept in his office again. Or that's what he'd say if she asked. She didn't ask anymore. She went through her routine with the mechanical precision of someone who'd stopped expecting joy from daily life. Shower, skincare, hair pulled back in a simple twist, a cashmere sweater in dove gray and tailored slacks. Understated, invisible. The way Victor preferred. By 7:15, she was in the kitchen of their Belgravia townhouse, making coffee she'd drink alone. The housekeeper didn't arrive until 8. Victor didn't surface until 9, if at all. Sometimes he went straight from his home office to wherever his car service took him. Lydia had stopped tracking his schedule years ago. She'd stopped tracking most things. That was the problem with slow erasure. You didn't notice it happening. One day you're a person with opinions, with desires, with a life that feels real. Then you blink and realize you've become furniture. Expensive furniture, sure, well-maintained, but still just an object taking up space in someone else's life. Lydia carried her coffee to the morning room, her favorite space in the house. Windows overlooking the private garden, good light, a place that felt like it could have been hers, if anything in this marriage actually belonged to her. She was reaching for her book, a novel she'd been reading for 3 weeks, 10 pages at a time, when she noticed Victor's laptop on the side table. He never left his laptop lying around. Victor Hale was meticulous about his devices. Passwords, encryption, locked drawers. He ran a private equity firm that dealt with sensitive acquisitions. Client confidentiality, he always said. Need-to-know basis. You understand, darling? She'd understood. She'd always understood. But here was his laptop, closed but definitely present, definitely abandoned. An anomaly. Lydia told herself to ignore it, make more coffee, read her book, mind her business. She opened it instead. The screen woke immediately, no password required, which meant he'd left in a hurry. His email was open. At the top of his inbox was a message from someone named Charlotte with the subject line, "Last night was perfect." Lydia's finger hovered over the trackpad. This was the moment, the classic moment, the wife finding evidence of an affair. She should feel something, shouldn't she? Anger, devastation, betrayal. She felt curious, detached, like she was watching herself in a movie. She clicked. The email opened. No salacious content, just, "Last night was perfect. You were perfect. Everyone was so impressed. I've already had 3 people ask about your work with the foundation. See you tomorrow night." See. Below the text was an attachment, a photo. Lydia clicked again. The image loaded slowly, like the universe giving her one last chance to look away. She didn't look away. It was a photo from an event, some gala, crystal chandeliers, evening gowns, men in tuxedos. And there, in the center of the frame, was Victor, her husband. In his Tom Ford tux, the one she'd helped him pick out 2 years ago. His arm around a woman's waist. The woman was beautiful. Early 30s, Lydia guessed. Blonde hair in an elaborate updo. A red gown that probably cost more than Lydia's monthly allowance. She was looking at the camera with the confident smile of someone who belonged exactly where she was. The caption beneath the photo read, "Victor Hale and his wife Charlotte at the National Gallery benefit." Lydia read it again. Victor Hale and his wife Charlotte. Not Victor Hale and Charlotte Denning. Not Victor Hale and guest. His wife. She scrolled down. More emails, more attachments, more photos. Victor and Charlotte at a charity auction. Victor and Charlotte at a theater opening. Victor and Charlotte at the mayor's winter gala, an event Lydia remembered Victor telling her was boring, business-focused, not your scene. In every photo, Charlotte was identified the same way. Mrs. Hale. Mrs. Victor Hale. Victor's wife. Lydia set the laptop down carefully, like it might explode. Her hands were steady. That surprised her. Shouldn't they be shaking? Shouldn't she be crying, screaming, throwing things? She felt nothing. No, that wasn't true. She felt a strange, cold clarity, like a lens focusing after years of blur. She picked up the laptop again and kept scrolling. The emails went back months, 6 months, 8 months. Almost a year of correspondence between Victor and Charlotte. Dinner reservations, event schedules, thank you notes from people who'd met Mrs. Hale at various functions. Lydia opened a new search. Victor Hale and Charlotte. The results flooded in. Society pages, charity foundation boards, business journal profiles. In every single article, Charlotte was there, sometimes in photos, sometimes just mentioned by name. Victor Hale attended with his wife, Charlotte. The Hales have pledged significant support to the arts initiative. Lydia clicked on a video, some local news segment about urban development. There was Victor being interviewed outside a construction site, and beside him, in a tasteful navy suit, was Charlotte. "My wife and I believe in investing in London's future," Victor said to the camera, his hand resting on Charlotte's back with casual ownership. The interviewer turned to Charlotte. "Mrs. Hale, you've been instrumental in the community outreach for this project. What drives your passion for urban renewal?" Charlotte smiled. The smile was warm, intelligent, practiced. "I think we all have a responsibility to leave things better than we found them." Lydia closed the laptop. The coffee had gone cold in her cup. Outside, a bird was singing in the garden. The morning light was doing that pretty thing it did around 8 o'clock, turning everything gold. She sat there for a long time, not moving. This wasn't an affair. This was a replacement. Victor hadn't been cheating on her. He'd been replacing her, systematically, publicly. He'd found another woman and installed her in the position of Mrs. Victor Hale, while Lydia, what? Sat at home? Read books? Became invisible? When had she last been to one of Victor's events? She tried to remember. There'd been that dinner party. When was that? 2 years ago? 3? He'd started making excuses after that. "It's just business contacts. You'd be bored. It's a small thing, not worth your time. You don't need to worry about this stuff." She'd been relieved, actually. Those events had always made her anxious. The small talk, the performance of being Mrs. Victor Hale, successful, polished, perfect. It had exhausted her. So she'd stayed home. And Victor had found someone who wouldn't stay home. The front door opened and closed. Footsteps in the hall. Lydia didn't move. Victor appeared in the doorway of the morning room, already on his phone. "Have you seen my laptop?" His tone was distracted, not concerned. He barely glanced at her. "It's here," Lydia said. Her voice sounded normal, calm. "Great. I need it." He crossed to the table, still typing on his phone with one hand. Lydia watched him, really looked at him. When had she stopped looking at her own husband? Victor Hale was 43, handsome in that well-maintained way of wealthy men. Good haircut, good suits, good teeth. He played squash 3 times a week and had a nutritionist. He looked exactly like what he was. Successful, confident, untouchable. He picked up the laptop without looking at her. "I have back-to-back meetings today. Don't wait up." "Victor." He paused, finally meeting her eyes. "Yeah?" "Who's Charlotte?" She watched his face, watched for the flicker of panic, guilt, something. There was nothing. No reaction at all. "Charlotte Denning," he said. "Works with the foundation." "Why?" "You've been to a lot of events with her. She coordinates most of them. That's her job." "The National Gallery benefit?" Lydia said. "The theater opening. The mayor's gala." Now something crossed his face. Not guilt. Annoyance. "What's your point? In all the photos, she's identified as your wife." Victor sighed. The sigh of a busy man being interrupted by trivia. "That's a media mix-up. You know how these things are. Someone makes an assumption, it gets repeated. For a year? I can't control what captions people write, Lydia. You could correct them. Why would I? It doesn't matter. The words hung in the air between them. It doesn't matter. It matters to me, Lydia said quietly. Victor checked his watch. Look, I don't have time for this right now. If you want to get upset about some random photos, fine. But I have actual important things to deal with. Am I not important? He finally looked at her, really looked at her. And in his eyes, she saw the truth. No, she wasn't. Don't be dramatic, he said. I'll be home late. He left. Lydia sat in the golden morning light and felt something crack inside her chest. Not her heart, something deeper. The foundation she'd built her life on. She'd met Victor 7 years ago at a gallery opening. She'd been 26, working as an assistant curator, still figuring out who she was. He'd been 36, already successful, already confident. He'd pursued her with the focus he brought to everything. Dinners, weekend trips, thoughtful gifts. He'd made her feel chosen, special. The wedding had been small but elegant. Her parents had flown in from Bristol. His business partners had attended. It had felt like the beginning of something. When had it become the ending? She remembered the first time Victor had asked her to skip an event, a business dinner that would bore her to tears. She'd been grateful. She hadn't enjoyed those dinners anyway. Then it was a gala. Too political, not your scene. Then a fundraiser. Lots of old people talking about money. You'd hate it. She'd agreed every time, relieved to stay home, relieved to not perform. And Victor had gone alone. Except he hadn't gone alone, had he? Lydia stood up. Her legs felt strange, like she'd forgotten how to use them properly. She went upstairs to Victor's office. He always locked it, but she knew where he kept the spare key. Behind the Rothko print in the hallway. He'd shown her once, years ago. In case of emergency. This felt like an emergency. The office was exactly what you'd expect. Massive desk, leather chairs, shelves of books he'd never read, but that looked impressive. Everything designed to project success. Lydia sat at his desk and opened his computer, still unlocked. She spent the next 3 hours going through his files. What she found was worse than an affair. Victor hadn't just been attending events with Charlotte. He'd been building a life with her. Joint charity projects, co-signed donation pledges, dinner reservations at their usual place, wine selections based on our preferences. There were expense reports, hotels in Paris, Rome, New York. Always 2 rooms booked, always adjoining. There were text message screenshots, nothing explicit, but intimate. Inside jokes, pet names. Can't wait to see you. Last night was perfect. You make everything better. And then Lydia found the folder labeled Personal. Inside were documents, lots of documents, property searches. Apartments in Kensington. Price range? 2 to 3 million pounds. Attorney consultations. Not as business lawyers. Family law attorneys. Financial projections. Asset divisions. Settlement offers. And at the bottom of the folder, a document titled Transition Plan. Lydia opened it. It was dated 3 months ago. A detailed timeline for dissolving his marriage to Lydia while minimizing disruption to professional and social commitments. She read through it once, then again. Phase 1, gradual social separation, already complete. Phase 2, financial restructuring, in progress, estimated completion 6 months. Phase 3, legal consultation and settlement negotiation, scheduled to begin 4 months from now. Phase 4, formal announcement and transition. Target date, 12 months from now. There was a note at the bottom. Minimize Lydia's public involvement throughout process. Avoid media attention. Goal, clean, quiet dissolution. Charlotte ready to assume public role immediately following finalization. Lydia closed the laptop. She walked downstairs, made herself a cup of tea, drank it standing at the kitchen window, looking out at the garden. A bird landed on the fountain. A robin. It hopped around the edge, dipped its head to drink, flew away. Lydia felt very calm. Victor had a plan. A 12-month plan to erase her from his life completely. To slide Charlotte into her place so smoothly that no one would even notice the transition. The wife swap would be as unremarkable as updating a phone. 6 more months of financial restructuring, which she assumed meant hiding assets, protecting his wealth. Then 4 months of attorney meetings she wasn't invited to. Then the announcement, probably phrased as a mutual decision. We've grown apart. Still friends. We want privacy during this difficult time. And Lydia would, what? Move into some modest flat? Take a settlement that seemed generous but was actually a fraction of what she deserved. Fade into obscurity while Charlotte hosted dinner parties and attended galas and became the real Mrs. Victor Hale? The teacup was shaking now. Finally. The trembling she'd been waiting for. But it wasn't fear making her hands shake. It was rage. 7 years. She'd given him 7 years. She'd made herself smaller and quieter and more convenient. She'd stayed home when asked. She'd stopped having opinions. She'd become exactly what he wanted, an invisible wife who didn't make demands. And her reward was a transition plan. Lydia set down the teacup before she dropped it. She went back upstairs, back to Victor's office. But not to his computer this time. She opened the bottom drawer of his desk, the locked one. The key was taped under the desk. Victor's security measures were theatrical but predictable. Inside the drawer was a fireproof box. Inside the box were documents, their marriage certificate, property deeds, insurance policies, and at the very bottom, an envelope with no label. Lydia opened it. Inside were photos. Old photos. Her photos. Not wedding photos. Earlier than that, photos of her with another man. She recognized herself immediately, though she looked different, younger, harder, her hair darker, her clothes different, designer, but not the soft, feminine style she wore now. These were sharper, more severe, and the man beside her in every photo was someone she hadn't seen in 8 years. Adrian Volkov. Her hand stopped shaking. The photos were from before London, before the gallery job, before she'd reinvented herself as Lydia Vance, quiet art lover from a quiet family in Bristol, before she'd run away. There were maybe a dozen photos. Her and Adrian at a restaurant in Moscow, her and Adrian getting into a car, her and Adrian at what looked like a very exclusive party, the kind where everyone was beautiful and dangerous and nothing was as it seemed. In every photo, Adrian's hand was on her, possessive, protective, claiming. And she was looking at him like he was the only person in the room. Under the photos was a document, a background check. Professional, thorough, expensive. Subject: Lydia Vance, formerly Lydia Volkov, née Lydia Kane. Born: Bristol, England, verified. Education: University College. London: Art history, verified. Employment: various galleries. London, verified. Previous residence: Moscow, Russia, 2015 to 2017. Known associates: Adrian Volkov, husband, 2015 to 2018, marriage dissolved. And then, highlighted in yellow, subject severed all contact with Volkov in 2018. No communication since. Volkov's current whereabouts unknown. Recommend monitoring for any renewed contact. The date on the background check was 7 years ago, right before Victor had proposed. Lydia sat back in the leather chair. Victor knew. He'd always known. He'd known about Adrian, about who she'd been, about the life she'd left behind. And he'd married her anyway. Or maybe he'd married her because of it? She thought about their courtship, how quickly it had moved, how insistent Victor had been, how he'd made her feel safe, normal, legitimate. Had it ever been real? Or had she been a project from the start? The reformed wild child, the tamed wife of a dangerous man, now domesticated and displayed as proof of Victor's power. Look what I can do. I took Adrian Volkov's wife and made her mine, except he was done with that project now. Lydia put everything back carefully, locked the drawer, replaced the key. She went downstairs and out into the garden. The air was cool, London autumn, the kind of weather she'd learned to love after Moscow's brutal winters. She'd run to London, run from Adrian, from that life, from everything that scared her about who she'd been becoming. Adrian Volkov wasn't just dangerous. He was the most dangerous man she'd ever met. Legitimate businesses in front, legitimate hell behind, money laundering, political connections, the kind of power that made governments nervous. And she'd loved him. That was the terrifying part. She'd loved him completely. The way he looked at her like she was the only thing worth seeing. The way he touched her like she was precious and deadly at the same time. The way he made her feel alive. Too alive. She'd been 23 when they met, 25 when she married him, 26 when she realized she was drowning. Not in danger. Adrian never let danger touch her. She was drowning in intensity, in a life that burned too bright, in being loved so completely that she forgot how to exist without it. So she'd run, told him she needed space, needed normal, needed to figure out who she was outside of being his. He'd let her go. That was the thing about Adrian. He never caged her, never begged, just looked at her with those ice blue eyes and said, "When you're ready to come home, I'll be here." She'd fled to London, changed her name back to her maiden name, built a quiet life, met Victor. And now, 8 years later, she was sitting in a garden in Belgravia, married to a man who was erasing her from his life like she was a rough draft. Lydia's phone buzzed. A text from Victor. "Dinner meeting ran late. Don't wait up." It was 2 in the afternoon. She looked at the text for a long moment. Then she opened her contacts. There was a number there, unlabeled. She'd never called it, never deleted it either. She'd kept it for 8 years, just in case. Her finger hovered over the call button. This was insane. She couldn't just... Could she? No, not yet. First, she needed to understand exactly what Victor was planning. She needed information. Lydia went back inside and opened her own laptop. She created a new email account under a fake name. Then she started sending messages to Victor's attorneys, posing as a potential client, asking about their experience with high net worth divorces and complex asset protection, to Charlotte's employer, asking about event planning services and whether Mrs. Hale would be available for a consultation, to the property agents handling those Kensington apartments, expressing interest in viewings. She spent the entire afternoon gathering information, building a picture. By evening, she had her answers. Victor's attorney had indeed been preparing divorce documents, very favorable to Victor. The settlement offered to Lydia was laughable, barely enough to cover a year's rent on a decent flat. Charlotte's employer had enthusiastically confirmed that Mrs. Hale has been instrumental in our most prestigious events and would continue in her role with the foundation indefinitely. And the Kensington apartment? Already purchased 3 months ago. Deed in Charlotte's name. Gift from her partner, according to the agent's notes. Victor had bought his mistress, no, his replacement wife, a £3 million apartment, while planning to offer Lydia a settlement that wouldn't buy a parking space in the same neighborhood. Lydia closed her laptop as she heard the front door open. Victor came in around 8. He looked surprised to see her still up, sitting in the living room with a book. "You're awake," he said. "Couldn't sleep." He loosened his tie. "I'm exhausted. Big day." "I'm sure." He studied her for a moment. "Are you still upset about this morning?" "The photos?" "Yeah, that. Look, I'm sorry if it bothered you, but you're making something out of nothing." Lydia smiled. "You're probably right." But the smile seemed to relax him. "Exactly. Just media nonsense. Not worth stressing over." "Victor," she said, "do you love me?" The question clearly caught him off guard. "What? Do you love me?" It's a simple question. He shifted his weight, uncomfortable. "Of course I do. Why would you even ask that?" "Because I'm trying to remember the last time you said it." "I say it all the time." "When?" He made an exasperated sound. "I don't know. I'm not keeping track. What is this about?" "I'm just curious." "Well, I don't have time for curiosity right now. I have calls to make." He started toward his office. "Victor." He turned back, irritated now. Lydia looked at him, her husband, the man she'd tried so hard to be perfect for. "Nothing," she said. "Good night." He left without responding. Lydia sat there for a long time after he disappeared upstairs. Then she picked up her phone. She opened that unlabeled contact, and before she could talk herself out of it, she typed a message. "It's me." I need to talk. She stared at the words for 60 seconds, then hit send. The response came in less than a minute. Just an address. A London address. Mayfair. And below it, tomorrow, 8 p.m. Come alone. Lydia read the message 3 times. 8 years. She'd been gone for 8 years. And Adrian hadn't asked why she was reaching out, hadn't asked what she needed, hadn't asked if she was okay. He just told her where to be. Because he'd always known. Known she'd come back eventually. When you're ready to come home, I'll be here. Lydia deleted the messages, deleted the fake email account, erased every trace of her afternoon investigation. Then she went upstairs to bed. Victor's side was empty. He was in his office, probably messaging Charlotte. Lydia lay in the dark and didn't feel anything. Tomorrow, she'd go see Adrian. Tomorrow, everything would change. But tonight, she was still Mrs. Victor Hale, still the ghost in the gilded cage, still the wife who didn't exist. She fell asleep thinking about a robin, how it had landed on the fountain, drunk its fill, and flown away. So simple, so easy. Just decide to leave, and leave. The next morning, Lydia woke before dawn. Victor's side of the bed was still empty. She found him passed out on the sofa in his office, laptop open on his chest, still wearing yesterday's clothes. She stood in the doorway watching him. His mouth was slightly open. There was a coffee stain on his shirt. He looked ordinary, human, not like the man systematically dismantling her existence. She left him there and went downstairs to make coffee. The housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, arrived at 8 sharp like always. She'd been with them for 5 years and had perfected the art of being present but invisible. She greeted Lydia with a polite nod and got to work. Lydia watched her move through the kitchen, putting things in order. Did Mrs. Chen know? Had she noticed Victor's absences, the separate lives, the slow disintegration of this marriage? Mrs. Chen, Lydia said, "Can I ask you something?" The older woman paused, dish towel in hand. "Of course, Mrs. Hale." "When was the last time Mr. Hale and I had dinner together? Here, at home?" Mrs. Chen's face remained neutral, but something flickered in her eyes. "Pity, maybe." "It's been some time, ma'am." "How long?" A pause. "I couldn't say exactly." "Try." Mrs. Chen folded the towel carefully. "Perhaps 3 months? 4? 4 months. Lydia had been living with a man she hadn't shared a meal with in 4 months. "Thank you," Lydia said. Mrs. Chen nodded and went back to her work, but the pity in her eyes had deepened. Lydia spent the day in a strange, focused calm. She went through her closets and found clothes she'd forgotten she owned. Things from before. A black leather jacket, designer jeans that actually fit her body instead of hiding it, heels that weren't sensible. She'd packed all of this away when she married Victor. Too edgy, she'd thought, not appropriate for a businessman's wife. Now she pulled everything out and looked at it like archaeological evidence of a person who'd stopped existing. At 4 o'clock, she went to a salon she'd never been to. Not her usual place, somewhere in Shoreditch, deliberately far from her neighborhood. "What are we doing today?" the stylist asked. Lydia looked at herself in the mirror. Mousy brown hair grown out and shapeless, the kind of hair that didn't ask for attention. "Something different," she said. "How different?" "Darker, sharper. Like I mean it." The stylist grinned. "Now we're talking." 3 hours later, Lydia walked out with hair almost black, cut in a sharp bob that framed her face. She looked like herself again. The herself she'd been before she'd decided to become someone else's idea of perfect. She stopped at a shop on the way home and bought new makeup. Dark lipstick, liner that could cut glass, things that made statements instead of apologies. When she got home, Victor still wasn't back. No surprise there. She showered and dressed carefully. The black jeans, a silk blouse in deep emerald, the leather jacket, heels that added 3 inches and changed her posture completely. She did her makeup slowly, deliberately, painted herself back into existence. By 7:30, she looked like someone who could walk into a room and be seen. She left the house at 7:45, didn't leave a note, didn't tell Mrs. Chen where she was going, just left. The Mayfair address was a private club. The kind of place that didn't advertise, didn't have a sign, didn't let anyone in without prior approval. Lydia walked up to the unmarked door and it opened before she could knock. A man in an immaculate suit looked at her. His eyes registered recognition, even though she'd never seen him before. "Ms. Kane," he said. Not Vance, not Hale. Kane. Her maiden name. The name she'd used when she was with Adrian. "He's expecting me," she said. "Of course. This way." He led her through a corridor lined with dark wood and low lighting. Classical music played softly. Everything smelled expensive. They reached a private room at the back. The man opened the door and stepped aside. Lydia walked in. The room was intimate. Leather chairs, a fireplace, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. And sitting by the window, a glass of whiskey in his hand, was Adrian Volkov. 8 years. She'd convinced herself that memory had exaggerated him, made him more than he was, built him into something larger than life. She was wrong. If anything, memory had diminished him. Adrian Volkov at 40 was more devastating than he'd been at 32. The sharp angles of his face had settled into something harder, more defined. His hair was still dark, touched with gray at the temples now. His eyes were still that impossible blue, the color of winter sky, of ice, of things that could kill you beautifully. He stood when she entered, didn't rush to her, didn't speak, just stood there and looked at her. And in that look was 8 years of absence, 8 years of silence, 8 years of a door left open, waiting. "Hello, Adrian," she said. Her voice sounded steadier than she felt. "Lydia." Just her name. The way he said it, like a complete sentence. They stood there 10 feet apart, looking at each other across a gap that felt both infinite and non-existent. "You cut your hair," he said. "Today. It suits you. You look like yourself again." I wasn't sure I remembered who that was. Adrian's mouth curved slightly, not quite a smile. "You remember." He gestured to the chair across from his. "Sit, please." Lydia sat, crossed her legs, tried to look like this was normal, like she hadn't spent 8 years running from this man and everything he represented. Adrian sat across from her and picked up his whiskey. "Do you want a drink?" "No, yes, I don't know." That's honest, at least. He poured her whiskey anyway, slid the glass across the small table between them. Lydia picked it up and took a sip. It burned. She welcomed it. "You look good," Adrian said. "Different, but good. Marriage suits you." The word landed like a slap. "Does it?" "You tell me." Lydia set down the glass. "I didn't come here to talk about how I look." "Why did you come?" Good question. Why had she come? What was she doing here, sitting across from a man she'd sworn to leave behind, asking for? What, exactly? "I need to know something," she said. "Ask?" "When I left, did you look for me?" Adrian's expression didn't change. "Yes." "How long?" "How long did I look, or how long before I found you?" That surprised her. "You found me. Within 6 months. You knew where I was?" "I know where you've been for 8 years, Lydia. I know you went to London. I know you worked at 3 different galleries. I know you met Victor Hale at the Serpentine opening in 2018. I know you married him 14 months later. I know you live in Belgravia in a house with too many rooms and a garden you actually use." Lydia felt cold. "You've been watching me. I've been aware of you. There's a difference." "Is there?" "I never interfered, never contacted you, never came near you, but I made sure you were safe. That was our agreement." "We didn't have an agreement." "Yes, we did. You asked for space. I gave it to you. But I never agreed to forget you existed." Lydia drank more whiskey. "Did you know about Victor? About what he's doing?" Adrian's eyes sharpened. "What is he doing?" She told him. All of it. Charlotte, the photos, the transition plan, the apartment in Kensington, the divorce documents, the settlement that was designed to send her away quietly with nothing. Adrian listened without interrupting. His face revealed nothing, but his stillness became more absolute with every detail. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said very calmly, "I'm going to kill him. Adrian, not literally. Probably, but professionally, socially, financially, he's done. That's not why I'm here. Then why are you here? Lydia looked at her hands. They were shaking again. I don't know. I needed to see you. I needed to remember that I used to be someone who wouldn't accept this. You're still that person. Am I? Because right now I feel like I'm nobody. Victor's erasing me, and I've been letting him do it for so long, I forgot I could fight back. Adrian leaned forward, not touching her, but close enough that she could smell his cologne. Cedar and something darker. It hit her like a memory she'd tried to bury. Listen to me, he said quietly. Victor Hale is a small man playing at power. He married you because being married to Adrian Volkov's wife made him feel important. It was a trophy, a conquest. Look what I took from the dangerous man. But he didn't take you. You left. And now he's bored with his trophy and wants to trade up. How flattering. It should be. It means he knows you're more than he deserves. He's trying to erase you before people realize he never measured up. Lydia laughed. It came out bitter. You're just saying that. I never just say anything. You know that. She did know that. Adrian didn't deal in empty comfort. What do I do? She asked. What do you want to do? I want him to hurt. I want everyone who's been looking at Charlotte and thinking she's Mrs. Hale to know the truth. I want Victor to feel what I've been feeling. Then make him feel it. How? Adrian sat back. You have options. The legal route. Get your own attorney. Fight for what you're owed. You'd win eventually, but it would take time and energy, and he'd drag it out. What's the other option? The efficient route, which is, you come back to me. The words hung in the air between them. Lydia's heart was pounding. Adrian, hear me out. Victor built his reputation on being connected, powerful, untouchable. What happens to that reputation when everyone remembers his wife used to be mine? When you walk back into your old life and make it clear you chose to leave him? I did choose to leave you, and now you're choosing to come back. The narrative writes itself. This isn't about narrative. This is my life. Exactly. Your life, not his. Stop letting him write the story. Lydia stood up, paced to the window. The city lights spread out below like scattered diamonds. I can't use you for revenge. Who says you'd be using me? She turned to look at him. What are you saying? Adrian stood and walked to her, stopped close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. I'm saying I let you go 8 years ago because you needed to figure out who you were without me. I gave you that time. I gave you space. I watched you build a quiet life with a quiet man, and I didn't interfere, even though it killed me every single day. His voice was still calm, controlled, but something burned underneath it. But if you're done with quiet, he continued, if you're ready to remember who you actually are, then stop pretending this is about revenge. It's about coming home. Lydia's breath caught. You can't just expect me to... I don't expect anything. I'm offering you a choice. Walk away right now. Handle Victor on your own terms. Live your life. I won't stop you. Or remember what it felt like to be mine. The word mine went through her like electricity. She remembered. Of course she remembered. Being Adrian's had been the most intense experience of her life. He'd loved her like she was the only thing that mattered in a world of things that didn't. He'd looked at her like she was dangerous and precious and essential. And it had terrified her. That much feeling, that much intensity, that much of everything. So she'd run. I'm still married, she said weakly. For now. Adrian, this is insane. Is it? He's already replaced you. He's already moved on. You're the only one still playing by rules he abandoned. What are you suggesting? That I just, move in here? Pick up where we left off? Pretend 8 years didn't happen? I'm suggesting you stop hiding. Come to the Ashford Gala on Friday. Lydia blinked. The charity gala? Victor will be there with Charlotte. I already have tickets. Come with me instead. Everyone will see. That's the point. It'll start rumors, questions. People will dig into my past, into us. Let them. You think I care what people say? But She stopped. Did she care? She'd spent 8 years caring desperately what people thought, being appropriate, being quiet, being invisible. and where had it gotten her? I need to think, she said. Then think. You have 3 days, Friday night, 8 o'clock. If you want to keep being Mrs. Victor Hale, the woman nobody sees, stay home. If you want to remind the world who you actually are, meet me here and we'll go together. And if I come with you, what then? Then we make sure Victor Hale regrets ever thinking you were someone he could erase. Lydia looked at him, really looked at him. Adrian Volkov, the man she'd loved and left, standing in front of her, offering her a way out, or a way back, or maybe both. I'm not the same person I was, she said. Good. Neither am I. But some things don't change. Like what? He reached out and tucked a strand of her new dark hair behind her ear. The touch was gentle, but it burned. Like the fact that you're the only woman who's ever made me feel like the world could burn, and I wouldn't notice because I'd be too busy looking at you. Her breath stopped. That's not fair, she whispered. Nothing about this is fair. He's stealing your life. I'm offering you a chance to take it back. You decide which matters more. Adrian stepped back, giving her space. 3 days, he said. The car will be here at 8, whether you're in it or not. Lydia nodded. She couldn't speak, couldn't think, could barely breathe. She left without saying goodbye. The driver who'd let her in appeared and escorted her back out to the street. She stood on the sidewalk for a long moment, feeling dizzy. She'd just agreed to, what? Possibly show up to London's biggest social event on the arm of Adrian Volkov? She was insane. She went home. Victor was there when she walked in. Actually there, in the living room, looking at his phone. He glanced up when she entered and did a double take. What did you do to your hair? Cut it. It's different. I wanted something different. He looked her up and down, taking in the whole outfit, the jeans, the heels, the leather jacket. Where have you been? Out. Out where? Lydia set down her bag. Does it matter? You look like you're trying to be 25 again. I'm 34, Maho. Exactly. This look is a bit much. Something in Lydia snapped. Not dramatically, just a quiet crack, like ice breaking. Victor, when's the Ashford Gala? He blinked at the subject change. Friday. Why? Are you going? Of course. It's the biggest event of the season. Everyone goes. Everyone. He had the decency to look uncomfortable. Charlotte's coordinating it. She'll be there. As your date? As the event coordinator, who you'll arrive with and spend the evening with and introduce as your wife. Victor's jaw tightened. We've been over this. Media mistakes aren't my responsibility. Right, mistakes. Lydia smiled. I think I'll go too. To the gala? Yes. Since when do you want to go to these things? Since I realized I've been missing out. Victor frowned. I don't think that's a good idea. Why not? Because you don't enjoy these events. You've said so yourself. I've changed my mind. Lydia, unless you don't want me there? The question hung in the air. Victor opened his mouth, closed it. He was trapped, and he knew it. Of course I want you there, he said, but it sounded hollow. I just don't want you to be uncomfortable. How thoughtful. Don't worry about me. I'll manage. She walked past him toward the stairs. Where are you going? He called after her. To bed. I'm tired. She went upstairs and closed the bedroom door. Then she sat on the bed and pulled out her phone. The unlabeled contact was still there. She typed, I need a dress. The response came immediately. Already ordered. Size 4, correct? He knew her size. Of course he did. She typed back, You're very sure of yourself. No, just sure of you. Lydia put the phone down and lay back on the bed. 3 days. She had 3 days to decide if she was really going to do this. 3 days to decide if she was brave enough to stop being invisible. The next morning, a package arrived. Mrs. Chen brought it up to the bedroom where Lydia was having coffee. This just came for you, Mrs. Hale. Lydia took the box. Plain black, no label, but she knew what it was. Inside was a dress. Not just a dress. A masterpiece. Deep midnight blue, the color of the sky right before it goes completely dark. The fabric was some kind of silk that moved like water. The cut was simple but devastating. A neckline that plunged just enough, a slit that would show leg when she walked. It was the kind of dress that made statements, the kind that got remembered. Under the dress was a note in handwriting she recognized. For the woman who deserves to be seen. Lydia held up the dress. It was perfect. Of course it was perfect. Adrian had always known exactly what she needed, even when she didn't. She tried it on. It fit like it had been made for her body specifically, which it probably had been. Adrian didn't do anything halfway. She looked at herself in the mirror. The woman looking back wasn't Mrs. Victor Hale, quiet and overlooked. She wasn't even Lydia Vance, the gallery assistant who'd wanted a simple life. She was someone else, someone she'd almost forgotten, someone who knew her worth. Lydia took off the dress and hung it carefully in her closet. Then she went downstairs. Victor was in his office, door closed. She could hear his voice through it, talking to someone, laughing. Probably Charlotte. Lydia walked past the office and out the back door into the garden. The robin was back, perched on the fountain. It looked at her. She looked back. Then it spread its wings and flew away. Lydia watched it disappear into the sky. 2 more days until the gala. 2 more days until she decided who she was going to be. She went back inside and called her own lawyer. Not a family lawyer. A divorce attorney. The one her friend Sarah had used when her marriage imploded. I need to understand my options, Lydia said when the attorney answered. Of course, Mrs. Hale. When would you like to come in? Today. Now, if possible. There was a pause. This sounds urgent. It is. I can see you at 2. Lydia met with the attorney for 3 hours, laid out everything. Victor's plan, the hidden assets, Charlotte, the insulting settlement. The attorney took notes and occasionally swore under her breath. He's been planning this for a year? She said. At least. And didn't think you'd find out. He thought I was too passive to look. The attorney smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Men like Victor Hale always underestimate their wives. It's their fatal flaw. Can I fight this? Can you? You can destroy him. His settlement offer is garbage. You're entitled to half of everything acquired during the marriage. Property, investments, all of it. And if we can prove he's been hiding assets in preparation for divorce, the court will not be kind. How long would it take? Realistically, a year, maybe 2 if he fights hard. But you'd win. What if I don't want to wait 2 years? The attorney leaned back. There are faster ways to apply pressure, social pressure, professional pressure. Men like him care about reputation. If the right people knew what he was doing, you mean leak it? I mean strategically share accurate information. Not my department officially, but I know people who specialize in that sort of thing. But Lydia thought about it. Can you give me a few days? Of course, but Mrs. Hale, whatever you're planning, do it fast. If he realizes you know, he'll accelerate his timeline. Lydia left the attorney's office feeling clearer. She had options. Legal options that didn't involve Adrian. But legal options took time. And they were cold, clinical. They'd get her money, maybe justice, but not satisfaction. The gala was in 2 days. That night, Victor came home early. She was in the living room when he walked in. Can we talk? He said. Lydia looked up from her book. Sure. He sat down across from her, looking uncomfortable. I've been thinking about what you said, about the gala. And? Maybe it would be good if you came as my wife. We can make an appearance together. How generous. I'm serious. We can show up together, stay for a few hours. It might be good for us. Lydia closed her book. Victor, can I ask you something? And I want an honest answer. He shifted. Okay. When did you decide you were done with me? The directness seemed to stun him. What? When did you decide this marriage was over, that you wanted Charlotte instead? Lydia, that's not... Was it gradual, or was there a specific moment? Victor stood up. I don't know what you're implying, but I'm not implying anything. I found your transition plan, the one on your laptop. I know everything. The color drained from his face. You went through my computer? You left it open. That doesn't give you the right. You bought Charlotte an apartment. He froze. £3 million, Lydia continued calmly. In Kensington. Deed in her name, very generous. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been planning to divorce me for at least a year, hiding assets, moving money around, all while making me think we still had a marriage. Victor's face hardened. The pretense dropped. You weren't supposed to find out this way. How was I supposed to find out? When you handed me divorce papers and told me to take my insulting settlement and disappear quietly? The settlement is fair. Lydia laughed. Actually laughed. Fair? You're offering me less than the apartment you bought your girlfriend. Charlotte isn't my girlfriend. Then what is she? Victor didn't answer. You can't even say it, Lydia said. You've been parading her around as your wife, but you can't even admit it to my face. This isn't productive. No, it's not. But it's honest. Finally. Victor ran a hand through his hair. Look, I didn't want it to be like this. I was trying to make it easy for both of us. Easy for you, you mean? You haven't been happy either, Lydia. Admit it. We've been living separate lives for years. Because you pushed me out of yours. I gave you exactly what you wanted, a quiet life. No pressure, no demands. You wanted to stay home and read books and hide from the world. I let you. The words hit like punches. I was trying to be what you wanted, Lydia said quietly. And I appreciate that. But I need someone who wants to be part of my world. Charlotte gets that. Charlotte gets paid to get that. It's literally her job. It's more than that, and you know it. Lydia stood. You're right. I do know it. You found someone who makes you feel important and powerful. And you don't care that you're destroying your marriage to keep her. Our marriage was already over. Not to me. That seemed to surprise him. You still love me. Did she? Lydia tried to find the feeling, but it was gone. Erased, just like Victor was trying to erase her. No, she said honestly, but I loved the idea of us. I loved thinking I could have a normal life with a normal man. I loved believing I could be someone different than who I was. Who were you? Lydia smiled. Someone you should have been more careful with. She walked past him toward the stairs. Where are you going? Victor called after her. Out. Out where? Does it matter? You don't actually care where I am. Lydia. She turned back. I'll see you at the gala, Victor. Save me a dance. His face went pale. You're still going? Absolutely. Wouldn't miss it. She went upstairs, leaving him standing there, looking worried. Good. Let him worry. She had one day left to decide. One day to choose between legal warfare that would take years or a single night that would change everything. One day to remember who she used to be. Lydia didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Victor snored softly in his office down the hall. Around 3 in the morning, she gave up, went downstairs, and made tea she didn't drink. The midnight blue dress hung in her closet like a dare. She kept thinking about what Victor had said. You wanted to stay home and read books and hide from the world. I let you. Had she been hiding, or had she been pushed into corners so small she'd convinced herself they were rooms? The difference mattered. At dawn, she texted Adrian, I need to see you before Friday. His reply came instantly, like he'd been awake too. Come now. She threw on jeans and a sweater and left the house while Victor was still unconscious. The city was just waking up, streets empty except for delivery trucks and early commuters. She felt like a ghost moving through someone else's life. The same unmarked door in Mayfair. The same suited man who opened it without her knocking. Ms. Kane, he's expecting you. This time Adrian wasn't in the private room. He was in what looked like an actual apartment above the club. Huge windows, minimal furniture, everything in shades of gray and black. He was standing by the window in dark slacks and a white shirt, sleeves rolled up, holding coffee. He looked like he hadn't slept either. You came, he said. You knew I would. I hoped. Lydia walked to the center of the room and stopped. I need you to be honest with me about something. Always? When I left 8 years ago, were you angry? Adrian set down his coffee, furious. But you let me go. Because you asked, and because I loved you more than I loved keeping you. That doesn't sound like you. It wasn't. I wanted to follow you, drag you back, lock you in a room until you remembered what we had. But that's not love, that's ownership, and you deserved better. Lydia sat on the arm of the sofa. Victor thinks he owns me too, but he doesn't want to keep me. He just wants to control how I disappear. Victor's a coward. He can't even end things honestly. He has to erase you quietly so no one asks questions. If I do this, if I go to the gala with you, it won't be quiet. No. People will talk. They'll dig. They'll find out about us, about who I used to be. Let them. You say that like it's simple. Adrian walked over and sat on the coffee table in front of her, close enough to touch, but not touching. It is simple. You're not doing anything wrong. Victor's the one who's been lying. You're just telling the truth. The truth that I left my husband for my ex-husband. The truth that you left a man who was already replacing you and chose to stand with someone who actually values you. Is that what this is? You valuing me? What else would it be? Lydia looked at her hands. Revenge. Power play. You proving you can take back what's yours. You were never a possession, Lydia. Not then. Not now. Then what was I? Everything. The word hung between them. You can't just say things like that, she whispered. Why not? It's true. You were everything to me. You still are. And watching you try to be small enough to fit into Victor Hale's life has been torture. But I waited because I promised you space. I'm done waiting. Lydia stood abruptly, paced to the window. The city stretched out below, already moving, already alive with people going about their lives like the world wasn't tilting on its axis. What if I'm not who you remember? She said to the glass. What if you're better? What if I'm worse? What if 8 years with Victor turned me into someone boring and broken? Adrian came up behind her. She could see his reflection in the window. You're not broken. You're angry. There's a difference. I don't know how to be angry. I've been swallowing everything for so long I forgot how to spit it back out. Then Friday night, you remember? She turned to face him. And if I can't? What if I freeze up there and can't go through with it? Then we leave. I take you home. We figure something else out. You make it sound easy. Because it should be. The hard part is deciding you're worth fighting for. Once you know that, everything else is just logistics. Lydia looked at him. Really looked. Adrian Volkov, who'd let her go when she asked, who'd waited 8 years without demanding anything, who was offering her a nuclear option wrapped in a dress. I'm scared, she admitted. Of what? Of you. Of this. Of what happens if I let myself want things again. Wanting isn't weakness. It felt like it. With you. I wanted so much I couldn't breathe. And with Victor? I wanted so little I forgot I was alive. Adrian reached out slowly, giving her time to move away. She didn't. He took her hand. His thumb brushed across her knuckles. You don't have to decide everything right now, he said quietly. Just decide about Friday, one night. Show up or don't. Either way, I'll respect it. But you want me to show up? Yes. Why? Really why? Adrian's jaw tightened. Because I've spent 8 years watching you be treated like you don't matter, and I can't watch it anymore. So either you walk into that gala with me and remind everyone who you actually are, or you don't, and I finally let you go for real. But I need to know. It was the first time she'd heard anything close to desperation in his voice. Adrian, one night, he repeated. That's all I'm asking. You owe Victor nothing. You owe me nothing. But maybe you owe yourself a chance to be seen. Lydia pulled her hand away. Not angrily, just carefully. I need to think. Then think. You know where to find me. She left without saying goodbye again. It was becoming a pattern. Outside, London was fully awake now. She walked instead of calling a car. Needed to move. Needed air. Her phone buzzed. A text from Victor. Where are you? She ignored it. Another buzz. We need to talk about Friday. She kept walking. By the time she got home, there were 6 texts from Victor, each one more irritated than the last. She found him in the kitchen, tie already loosened even though it was barely 9 in the morning. Where the hell were you? He demanded. Out. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Victor slammed his coffee cup down. What is going on with you? First the hair, then the attitude. Now you're disappearing in the middle of the night? I left at 6. Hardly the middle of the night. Without telling me where you were going. Do you tell me where you're going when you're with Charlotte? His face flushed. That's different. How? Because... He stopped. Couldn't say it. Because you don't matter. Because I don't owe you explanations. Because we both know this marriage is over. That's what I thought, Lydia said. She walked past him toward the stairs. I don't want you at the gala, Victor said suddenly. Lydia stopped, turned slowly. Excuse me? I've thought about it. It's better if you don't come. Better for who? For both of us. You'll be uncomfortable. Charlotte will be working. It'll be awkward. So you're uninviting me. I'm suggesting it might be best if you're uninviting your own wife from a public event because your girlfriend will be there. Victor's expression hardened. Don't make this more than it is. What is it then? Say it clearly. Tell me I can't come because Charlotte's pretending to be your wife and my presence would complicate the lie. You're being dramatic. Am I? Then you won't mind if I show up. Lydia, I'll see you there, Victor. She went upstairs and locked herself in the bedroom. Her phone rang immediately. Victor. She declined the call. It rang again. She turned it off. She needed silence, needed to think without his voice in her ear telling her what was appropriate, what was best, what she should want. The dress was still hanging in her closet. Lydia took it out and laid it on the bed, stared at it like it might tell her what to do. Her old phone buzzed, the one she'd kept from before, the one with Adrian's number. A message, no pressure, but the offer stands. No pressure. Right. Lydia lay down next to the dress and closed her eyes. She thought about the last gala she'd attended with Victor, 3 years ago. Maybe 4. She'd worn something beige and forgettable, spent the whole night feeling like furniture. Victor had introduced her to people whose names she immediately forgot, then abandoned her by the bar while he networked. She'd left early with a headache and he hadn't even noticed. She told herself it was fine. She didn't like those events anyway. But what if that was a lie? What if she'd actually liked the energy, the glamour, the feeling of being part of something, and she just hated being invisible in the middle of it? What if she'd been starving herself and calling it a diet? Her phone turned back on and immediately started buzzing. Texts from Victor, voicemails. One email with the subject line, "We need to discuss Friday." She deleted them all without reading. Then she called her friend Sarah, the one who'd been through a nasty divorce, the one whose attorney she'd consulted. "Hey," Sarah answered. "I was just thinking about you. How are you?" "Terrible. Can we meet? Now? If you're free." "I'm always free for crisis coffee. Usual place?" They met at a cafe in Notting Hill. Sarah took one look at Lydia's face and ordered them both double espressos. "Okay," Sarah said. "Talk." Lydia told her everything, the photos, Charlotte, the transition plan, the gala, Adrian. Sarah listened without interrupting, her eyes getting progressively wider. "Holy shit," she said when Lydia finished. "That's not helpful. No, I mean, holy shit, this is incredible. You have to go. To the gala? With Adrian Volkov? Are you kidding? That's the most devastating thing you could possibly do." "It feels petty." "It's not petty. It's perfect. Victor's been erasing you for a year. You show up with the one man who makes Victor look like exactly what he is, small, insignificant, replaceable. That's not revenge. That's truth." Lydia stirred her coffee. "What if it backfires? What if people think I'm just as bad as him? Who cares what people think? I care." "Why?" "These are the same people who've been letting Victor parade Charlotte around as his wife. Their opinions are worthless. But my reputation..." "Your reputation?" Sarah leaned forward. "Lydia, you don't have a reputation. You're invisible. That's the whole problem. Victor made you disappear. Now you have a chance to reappear on your own terms. With my ex-husband. With the man you should have never left, if we're being honest." Lydia looked up sharply. "What?" Sarah shrugged. "I met you right after you left him. You were a mess. Kept saying you needed normal, needed simple. But you were never simple, Lydia. You were always this intense, complicated person trying to fold yourself small enough to fit into Victor's boring life. I watched you dim yourself for years. Maybe it's time to turn the lights back on. You make it sound easy. It's not easy. It's terrifying, but so is staying in a marriage that's already over. Lydia drank her coffee. It was too hot and burned her tongue. She welcomed it. What did your divorce feel like? She asked. When you finally decided to do it? Sarah thought for a moment. Like jumping off a cliff. Except I'd been standing on the edge for so long that jumping was actually less scary than staying frozen. And after was hard, really hard, but also free. Like I could finally breathe properly again. Lydia nodded slowly. You're going to go, aren't you? Sarah said. To the gala with Adrian. I don't know. Yes, you do. You've already decided. You're just scared to admit it. Was she right? Had Lydia already decided? She thought about the dress hanging in her closet, about Adrian's hand on hers, about Victor's face when he'd uninvited her from her own life. Maybe, Lydia admitted. Sarah grinned. Good. Burn it all down. They finished their coffee and Lydia went home. The house was empty. Victor had left a note on the kitchen counter. Staying at the club tonight. Need space to think. The club. Right. Probably Charlotte's apartment in Kensington. Lydia crumpled the note and threw it away. Then she went upstairs and tried on the dress again. It still fit perfectly. Still made her look like someone who mattered. She took it off and hung it carefully back in the closet. Tomorrow. She'd decide tomorrow. But when tomorrow came, she still couldn't decide. She spent Friday morning cleaning out her closet, throwing away all the beige, all the shapeless, all the invisible. Mrs. Chen watched with poorly concealed alarm as Lydia filled garbage bags with expensive clothes. Are you sure, Mrs. Hale? The housekeeper asked. Very sure. I'm never wearing any of this again. Is everything all right? Lydia looked at her. Mrs. Chen had been watching this marriage dissolve in real time. Had probably known about Charlotte longer than Lydia had definitely noticed Victor's absences, his indifference, the way he treated Lydia like wallpaper. Do you like working here? Lydia asked. The question seemed to surprise her. It's a good position. That's not what I asked. Mrs. Chen hesitated, then quietly, No, not particularly. Why not? Because I don't like watching people be cruel to each other, even politely. Lydia smiled sadly. Thank you for being honest. Are you leaving him? I don't know yet, but either way, things are going to change. Mrs. Chen nodded. Good. You deserve better than this. It was the kindest thing anyone had said to her in months. By afternoon, Lydia's phone was full of messages from Victor, demands to know if she was really going through with this. Threats that he'd have security remove her if she showed up. Then, when threats didn't work, attempts at negotiation. We can go together. Present a united front. Please, Lydia, don't make this harder than it needs to be. She didn't respond to any of them. At 6 o'clock, she started getting ready. Showered, did her hair. The dark bob looked sharp, intentional. Did her makeup carefully. Dark lips. Defined eyes. Not hiding anything. At 7:30, she put on the dress. It slid over her skin like water, like inevitability. The deep blue made her skin glow. The cut showed her body, not apologetically, not hidden, just there, existing, taking up space. She looked at herself in the mirror. The woman looking back was a stranger, and also completely familiar, someone who'd been buried but not dead, someone who'd been waiting. Lydia's hands were shaking as she put on her heels. Simple black, high enough to change everything about how she moved. Her phone buzzed. Adrian. The car's outside if you want it. Lydia looked at her reflection one more time. Victor had spent a year planning how to erase her. She could spend one night showing him he'd failed. She grabbed her clutch and walked downstairs. Mrs. Chen was in the hallway. She stopped dead when she saw Lydia. Mrs. Hale, she breathed. You look different? Like yourself. Lydia felt tears threaten, blinked them back. Thank you. Are you coming back tonight? Good question. Was she? I don't know, Lydia said honestly. Then I hope wherever you're going, it's somewhere you're valued. Lydia hugged her. Mrs. Chen stiffened in surprise, then hugged back. Then Lydia walked out the front door. A black car was waiting. The driver opened the back door. Adrian was inside. He was in a tuxedo, of course, perfectly tailored. He looked like money and danger and the kind of man who could ruin you and make you thank him for it. But it was his face that stopped her, the way he looked at her when she slid into the car, like she was the only thing in the world worth seeing. Lydia, he said quietly, just her name. But the way he said it made her feel like she was being recognized after years of being invisible. Hi, she managed. You came. I came. He smiled, slow, real. You look… Don't. If you say I look beautiful, I might lose my nerve. I was going to say you look dangerous. That surprised a laugh out of her. Dangerous? Absolutely. Victor's not going to know what hit him. The car started moving. Lydia looked out the window. They were heading toward the venue, toward the moment everything changed. I'm terrified, she admitted. I know. What if I can't do this? What if I get there and freeze? Adrian took her hand. Then we leave. I told you. No pressure. This whole thing is pressure. Okay, yes, but it's the good kind, the kind that reminds you you're alive. Lydia looked down at their joined hands. His were steady. Hers were trembling. I haven't been alive in a long time, she said softly. I know. I've been watching you fade for 8 years. I'm done watching. What if I don't know how to come back? You're already back. You just don't realize it yet. The car pulled up to the venue. The Ashford Gala was being held at one of London's most prestigious hotels. Red carpet, photographers, beautiful people everywhere. Through the window, Lydia could see them, the elite, the powerful, the people who'd seen Charlotte on Victor's arm and never questioned it. Last chance, Adrian said quietly. We can turn around right now. No judgment. Lydia looked at the crowd, then at Adrian, then at herself in the tinted window. The woman in the midnight blue dress didn't look scared. She looked ready. Let's go, Lydia said. Adrian's smile could have lit the city. That's my girl. The driver opened the door. Adrian got out first, then offered Lydia his hand. She took it and stepped out of the car into the flash of cameras. The reaction was immediate. Heads turned. Conversations stopped. Someone gasped. Because everyone recognized Adrian Volkov. You didn't move in these circles without knowing who he was. And seeing him here, at London's premier social event, was news. But seeing the woman on his arm was bigger news. Lydia felt the weight of every eye on her, felt the cameras focusing, felt the moment crystallize into something that would be talked about for years. Adrian's hand tightened on hers, steadying, claiming. Ready? He murmured. Lydia lifted her chin, smiled. Not the quiet, apologetic smile of Mrs. Victor Hale. The real smile of someone who just decided to stop being invisible. Ready? She said, and together they walked into the gala. The ballroom was exactly what Lydia expected. Crystal chandeliers the size of small cars, tables draped in white silk, flowers that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Everyone dressed like they were auditioning for the role of wealthy and important. She'd been to events like this before, back when she was with Adrian. But then she'd belonged. Now she was walking back in after 8 years of exile, and every eye in the room was tracking her movement. Adrian's hand was steady on the small of her back, not possessive, grounding. Breathe, Pierre, he murmured. She realized she'd been holding her breath. They moved deeper into the room. Conversations didn't stop exactly, but they changed, got quieter, more pointed. People trying to look without looking. Is that… It can't be. Who is she? Wait, is that Adrian Volkov? Lydia heard the whispers, felt them like touches against her skin. A waiter appeared with champagne. Adrian took 2 glasses, handed her one. Their fingers brushed. The touch felt electric. To new beginnings, Adrian said quietly, or old endings. Sometimes they're the same thing. They drank. The champagne was good, too good. Lydia could feel it warming her from the inside. He's here, Adrian said. Lydia didn't have to ask who. She could feel Victor's presence like a cold spot in the room. She turned slowly. Victor was across the ballroom near the bar. He'd just walked in, and beside him, in a dress that was trying too hard, was Charlotte. Charlotte looked exactly like her photos. Beautiful, polished, confident. The dress was red. Statement red, look at me red. Her hand was looped through Victor's arm like it belonged there. Victor was scanning the room, looking for Lydia probably, trying to figure out if she'd actually shown up. Then his eyes found her. Lydia watched his face change, watched the color drain, watched his mouth actually fall open. He'd expected her to stay home, to be the good wife who knew her place. He had not expected this. Charlotte noticed Victor's reaction and followed his gaze. Her confident smile faltered when she saw Lydia. Then she saw Adrian, and the smile disappeared completely. Even Charlotte knew who Adrian Volkov was. "Here we go," Adrian said softly. Victor was moving toward them. Charlotte tried to hold him back, but he shook her off. His face was doing something between fury and panic. He reached them in seconds. "What the hell are you doing?" he hissed at Lydia. His eyes barely touched Adrian, like acknowledging him would make this real. "Attending a gala," Lydia said calmly. "You said everyone goes. You can't be here." "Actually, I can. It's a charity event. I bought a ticket." "With him?" Victor's voice cracked on the last word. Adrian smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Victor, it's been a long time." "You two know each other?" Charlotte had caught up, slightly breathless. She was looking between them, trying to figure out the dynamics. "We've met," Adrian said smoothly, though Victor was using a different last name then. What was it? Harding? No, Harrison. Victor's face went red. That was a professional alias. Right, professional. Adrian's tone suggested it was anything but. Lydia looked at Victor, really looked. He was sweating despite the air conditioning. His bow tie was slightly crooked. He looked small standing next to Adrian. Had he always been this small? Or had she just been looking at him from her knees for so long she'd forgotten what actual height looked like? "Lydia, we need to talk," Victor said. "Privately." "I don't think so." "Please, just 5 minutes." "You had a year to talk to me, Victor. You chose not to." Charlotte was looking confused now. "What's going on?" "Nothing," Victor said quickly. "This is Lydia," Adrian said pleasantly. "Victor's wife, though I'm sure you already knew that." Charlotte's face went pale. Oh, I'm sorry," Adrian continued. "Were you under the impression you were his wife? Easy mistake. You've been introduced that way often enough." "That was a media error," Victor said desperately. "For a year?" Lydia said. She was surprised at how steady her voice was. "That's a very persistent error." People were starting to notice the confrontation, starting to drift closer, pretending not to listen while absolutely listening. Charlotte was backing away slowly. "Victor, I think I should—" "Don't go," Lydia said. It came out sharper than she intended. "You should hear this too, since you're such an important part of his life." "Lydia, please," Victor said. His voice had gone quiet, pleading. "Don't do this here." "Why not? You did it here. You brought her to these events, introduced her as your wife. Built a whole public life with her while I sat at home thinking I was the problem." "You are the problem," Victor snapped, then immediately looked like he regretted it. The words hung in the air. Lydia felt something crack inside her chest. Not pain, release. "There it is," she said softly. "Finally, the truth." "I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did. And you're right. I was the problem. I was too quiet, too boring, too content to be invisible. But that's over now." Adrian's hand found hers, squeezed once, supporting, not controlling. Victor saw the gesture, his face twisted. "How long has this been going on?" "Going on?" Lydia laughed. Actually, laughed. "You mean, how long have I been seeing Adrian while married to you? Is that what you're asking? You, the man who bought his girlfriend a £3 million apartment?" Charlotte made a small sound. "What? You didn't tell her?" Lydia looked at Charlotte. "The Kensington flat. In your name. He bought it 3 months ago. Deed and everything. Victor. Charlotte's voice was small. It was an investment, Victor said. In what? Your future together? Lydia asked. After the divorce you've been planning for a year? Charlotte stepped back. Divorce? He didn't tell you that part either? There's a whole timeline, phase 1 through 4, very organized, very Victor. That's confidential, Victor hissed. Not anymore. More people were gathering now, not even pretending to mind their business. The whispers were getting louder. Lydia could see faces she recognized, society wives who'd judged her for years, business associates of Victor's, the mayor, several members of parliament, everyone who mattered in London's elite circles. Everyone was watching her destroy her marriage in public. She should feel humiliated, should want to disappear. Instead, she felt powerful. You know what the saddest part is? Lydia said, and her voice carried. She wasn't shouting, didn't need to. Everyone was listening. I would have let you go quietly, if you'd just been honest. If you'd said, this isn't working, I've met someone else, let's end this with dignity. I would have signed the papers and walked away. Then why didn't you, Victor demanded. Because you tried to erase me. You didn't just want to end our marriage. You wanted to rewrite history so I'd never existed. So Charlotte could slide into my place and no one would even notice the substitution. That's not... You have emails referring to her as your wife. You bought her an apartment. You had a transition plan that described me as a disruption to be minimized. You were going to offer me a settlement that wouldn't buy a parking space while you kept everything we built together. Half of that was mine before we married, and half was built during, but you didn't want to share. You wanted to keep it all and make me disappear. Victor's face was purple now. You're making a scene. Yes, I am. Because for 8 years I've been making myself smaller and quieter and more convenient. And where did it get me? You still tried to throw me away like I was nothing. You were nothing, Victor said. You didn't work, didn't contribute. Just sat at home reading books while I built my career. The words hit like slaps. Adrian moved slightly. Not threatening, but his presence shifted, became more solid, more dangerous. Careful, Adrian said quietly. Victor finally looked at him, really looked, and whatever he saw in Adrian's eyes made him take a step back. Who even are you? Victor said. Her new boyfriend? How long did it take you to find him, Lydia? 5 minutes after reading my emails? 8 years, Lydia said. Victor blinked. What? I've known Adrian for 8 years, since before I met you. Actually, we were married. The gasps around them were audible now. Charlotte looked like she might faint. You were married to Adrian Volkov? For 3 years, Adrian confirmed. Best 3 years of my life. Why didn't you tell me? Victor was staring at Lydia like she was a stranger. You never asked about my past. You ran a background check before you proposed. Yes, I found that too, so you knew. You just never cared enough to talk to me about it. I cared enough to marry you. You married me because it made you feel powerful, taking Adrian Volkov's wife and making her yours. That was the whole appeal, wasn't it? Not me. Just what I represented. Victor's silence was answer enough. You knew, Charlotte said, looking at Victor. You knew she was married to him and you didn't tell me? It didn't matter. Didn't matter. Victor, he's... Charlotte looked at Adrian, fear and fascination mixing on her face. Everyone knows who you are. Do they? Adrian said pleasantly. How nice. This is insane, Victor said. You're both insane. Lydia, if you think you're getting anything in the divorce after this stunt, I don't want your money, Victor. That stopped him. What? I don't want your money. You can keep it. Keep the house. Keep Charlotte. Keep your whole carefully constructed life. Victor looked suspicious. Then what do you want? Nothing. From you. She turned to Adrian. Can we go? Absolutely. They started to walk away. Wait, Victor called. That's it? You made this whole scene just to walk away. Was Lydia turned back? No. I made this scene so everyone here knows the truth. So when you announce our divorce, no one thinks I'm the problem. So Charlotte knows exactly what kind of man you are. So all these people who've been treating her like Mrs. Hale understand she was just a placeholder. She looked at Charlotte. He'll do it to you too, you know. As soon as someone more interesting comes along, that's who he is. Charlotte's face crumpled. And Victor? Lydia smiled. Good luck explaining this to your business partners. I believe several of them are here tonight. She could see them, the men Victor worked with, the investors. They were watching with very interested expressions, the kind of expressions that meant Monday morning was going to be brutal for Victor. Victor seemed to realize it too. You vindictive... Careful, Adrian said again. This time it was definitely a threat. Victor shut up. Lydia and Adrian walked away. She could feel every eye following them, hear the explosion of whispers as soon as they were out of earshot. They made it to the lobby before Lydia's legs started shaking. Adrian guided her to a chair. Sit. She sat. Her whole body was trembling now. That was... She couldn't find words. Magnificent, Adrian said. You were magnificent. I just destroyed my marriage in front of London's entire elite. You just took back your dignity in front of London's entire elite. Lydia looked up at him. He's going to be furious. Let him be. What's he going to do? You already told everyone the truth. His career will survive or it won't. Not your problem. Charlotte looked devastated. Charlotte made her choices. She knew he was married. She chose to participate in your erasure. This is consequences. Lydia put her face in her hands. I feel sick. That's adrenaline. It'll pass. What if I made a mistake? Adrian knelt in front of her, took her hands gently. Look at me. She did. You didn't make a mistake, he said firmly. You stood up for yourself. That's never a mistake. Everyone's going to talk about this for months. Good. Let them talk. You're not invisible anymore. Lydia laughed shakily. No, I'm definitely not invisible. Her phone started buzzing. She pulled it out, texts flooding in, from people she hadn't heard from in years, some supportive, some scandalized, some just nosy. One from Sarah. Holy shit, what did you do? Another from Mrs. Chen. I saw the photos online. Good for you. And one from a number she didn't recognize. This is Charlotte. Can we talk? Lydia showed that one to Adrian. He raised an eyebrow. Interesting. Should I respond? Do you want to? I don't know. Part of me feels bad for her. She participated in your humiliation for a year. But she might not have known about the transition plan. She might have actually believed Victor when he said the marriage was over. Adrian stood. That's generous of you. Or stupid. No, not stupid, just kind, which is why Victor never deserved you. Lydia's phone buzzed again, this time a call. Victor. She declined it. It rang again immediately. You should probably block him, Adrian said. Lydia blocked the number. It felt shockingly satisfying. What now? She asked. Now we leave. Unless you want to go back in theirs? Lydia looked toward the ballroom. She could hear music starting, the party continuing like her life hadn't just imploded in the middle of it. No, she said. I'm done here. Then let's go. Adrian offered his hand. Lydia took it and stood. Her legs were steadier now. They walked out of the hotel. Cameras flashed as they exited. Photographers who'd been waiting for something interesting. They'd definitely gotten it. The car was waiting. They climbed in. As they pulled away, Lydia looked back at the hotel, saw people gathered at the windows, watching, talking. I can never go back there, she said. To the hotel? To that life, those people, that whole world. Good, Adrian said. It was killing you anyway. The car drove through London. Lydia watched the city pass by. It looked different somehow, sharper, more real. Where are we going? She asked. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Not home. I can't go back to that house. Then don't. All my things are there. We'll send someone to get them tomorrow. Just like that? Just like that. Lydia leaned back against the seat. What am I doing, Adrian? Taking your life back. It doesn't feel like my life. It feels like I'm watching someone else make these insane decisions. That someone is you, the real you, the one you've been burying. What if the real me is a disaster? Then you'll be a disaster who's actually living instead of a ghost who's already dead. Lydia closed her eyes. I'm exhausted. I know. And terrified. I know that too. And I have no idea what happens next. Adrian's hand found hers in the dark. What happens next is you sleep. Then you wake up tomorrow and figure out one thing. Then the next day you figure out another thing. That's all. One thing at a time. That simple? That's simple. The car stopped. Lydia opened her eyes. They were in Mayfair, in front of the building with Adrian's apartment. I can't stay here, she said. Why not? Because nothing. You need somewhere to sleep that isn't Victor's house. I have a guest room. You're welcome to it. No expectations, no pressure, just a safe place to land. Lydia looked at the building, then at Adrian. He meant it. She could see it in his face. Okay, she said quietly. They went inside. The apartment was exactly as she remembered from that morning, except now it was late and the city lights made everything glow. Adrian showed her to the guest room. It was simple, clean, impersonal. There are clothes in the closet if you need them, he said. Bathroom through there. Help yourself to anything. Thank you. He started to leave, then paused at the door. Lydia? Yeah? You were incredible tonight. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but you were. Before she could respond, he was gone. Lydia sat on the bed. The dress suddenly felt too tight. She unzipped it carefully and hung it in the closet. Found a t-shirt in one of the drawers. It was huge on her, probably Adrian's. She washed her face, watched her makeup disappear. Underneath was just her, tired, scared, but still there. She climbed into bed and turned off the light. Her phone buzzed one more time. Another text from Charlotte. Please, I need to understand what just happened. Oh, Lydia stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed back, he used both of us. That's what happened. Charlotte's response came immediately. Can we meet? Tomorrow? Lydia thought about it. What would be the point? Charlotte had been part of the problem, part of the machinery that had erased Lydia from her own life. But Charlotte had also been lied to, used, probably discarded by now if Lydia's performance had the effect she thought it would. Maybe, Lydia typed. I'll let you know. She put the phone on the nightstand and lay back. Through the window she could see stars, or maybe just planes. It was hard to tell in London. She'd just destroyed her marriage in front of everyone who mattered, had walked out on her life, had ended up in her ex-husband's guest room wearing his t-shirt. She should feel like her life was over. Instead, she felt like it was finally starting. Lydia closed her eyes and fell asleep before she could question the feeling. She woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then it all came back. The gala. Victor's face. Charlotte's shock. The walk out. She got up and followed the coffee smell. Adrian was in the kitchen, already dressed, reading something on his tablet. He looked up when she entered. Morning? Morning, Lydia said. Her voice was rough with sleep. Coffee? Please. He poured her a cup, handed it to her. Their fingers brushed again. She was getting used to that electric feeling. How'd you sleep? He asked. Better than expected. Good. They stood there in awkward silence, morning after silence, except nothing had happened, just her entire life imploding. So, Lydia said, I should probably figure out what to do with the rest of my existence. Adrian smiled. That's one way to put it. Do you have any suggestions? Several, but they all require you deciding what you actually want. What if I don't know? Then we start with easier questions. Do you want to go back to Victor's house? No. Do you want to see him again? Eventually I'll have to, for the divorce. Do you want to see him today? Absolutely not. Good. Then you stay here until you figure out your next move. Lydia looked around the apartment. I can't just move in with you. Why not? Because people will talk. People are already talking. You ended your marriage last night in front of half of London. The damage is done. Might as well be comfortable while the gossip circulates. He had a point. What about Charlotte? Lydia asked. She wants to meet. Do you want to meet her? I don't know, maybe? I feel like I should hear her out. Then hear her out, but on your terms, not hers. Lydia's phone buzzed. She picked it up. Another text from Victor. We need to talk. This is ridiculous. She showed it to Adrian. Block that number too, he said. I can't block my husband forever. Ex-husband, or soon to be. And yes, you can. He can communicate through lawyers from now on. Is that what you want? For us to be... She gestured between them. Whatever this is? Adrian set down his coffee. What I want is for you to stop worrying about what everyone else wants and figure out what you want. I've told you what I want, 8 years ago and again last night, but that only matters if you want it too. I don't know what I want. Yes, you do. You're just scared to say it. Was he right? Did she know? Lydia looked at Adrian, really looked. He was standing there in his kitchen offering her coffee and shelter and a way forward, not demanding anything, just existing, waiting for her to decide. I want to not feel invisible, she said quietly. I want to matter. I want to be seen. You are seen. I see you. But what if that's not enough? What if I need more than just you seeing me? Then find it, build it, create it. You're not a possession, Lydia. You're not defined by who you're with. You're defined by who you are. And who am I? Adrian smiled. That's the question, isn't it? Guess you finally get to figure it out. Lydia's phone buzzed again. This time it was Sarah. Are you alive? The internet is losing its mind. Call me. Then another text. And another. Her phone was exploding with messages. She turned it off. I need a new phone, she said. Done. We'll get you one today. And knew everything else. Also done. Just like that? Just like that. Lydia looked at him. Why are you doing this? Because I love you. I've always loved you. And watching you be treated like you don't matter has been torture. So yes, I'm going to help you rebuild your life. And if that life includes me, great. If it doesn't, I'll survive. But either way, you deserve better than what you've had. The words settled over her like a blanket. I'm a mess, she said. I know. I don't know what I'm doing. I know that too. This could all be a huge mistake. Maybe. Or maybe it's the first real choice you've made in 8 years. Lydia finished her coffee, set down the cup, looked at Adrian standing there offering her everything and asking for nothing. Okay, she said. Okay what? Okay, I'll stay, for now, until I figure things out. Adrian's smile could have lit the whole city. Welcome home, he said. And for the first time in 8 years, Lydia felt like she actually was. The internet did exactly what the internet does. By Sunday morning, Lydia's confrontation with Victor had been dissected, analyzed, memed, and turned into think pieces about marriage, betrayal, and the patriarchy. Someone had filmed the whole thing on their phone. The video had 3 million views. Lydia made the mistake of watching it once. Seeing herself from the outside was surreal. The woman in the midnight blue dress looked confident, powerful, in control. Nothing like how she'd felt inside. Stop torturing yourself, Adrian said, taking her new phone away. He'd bought it that morning. New number, new everything. I look insane. You look like someone who refused to be erased. There's a difference. They were having breakfast in his apartment. Lydia was still in his t-shirt. She probably should have felt weird about that. She didn't. Victor's business partners are calling, Adrian said, scrolling through his own phone, asking questions. Apparently they're concerned about his judgment. Good. You don't sound sorry. I'm not. Should I be? Adrian smiled. No, but it's interesting seeing you like this. Like what? Unapologetic. Lydia picked at her toast. I spent 8 years apologizing for existing. I'm tired. Her phone buzzed. She'd given the new number to exactly 3 people. Sarah, Mrs. Chen, and her divorce attorney. This was the attorney. Victor's lawyer called me, the attorney said when Lydia answered. He's ready to talk settlement. That was fast. Viral humiliation tends to speed things up. He wants this handled quietly now, offering a much better deal than the original. How much better? The attorney named a figure. It was substantially more than Victor's insulting first offer. Still not half of everything, but enough to live on comfortably for years. He wants you to sign an NDA, the attorney continued. No public statements about the marriage or divorce, no interviews, no books. He's afraid I'll talk. Terrified, I'd say. The video from Friday night has damaged his reputation. His business is taking hits. He needs you to disappear again, just more expensively this time. Lydia thought about it. Money for silence. Victor trying to erase her one more time, just with a bigger check. Tell him no, she said. No to the NDA or no to the settlement? No to all of it. I don't want his money, and I'm definitely not signing away my right to speak. Silence on the other end. Then, Mrs. Hale, I have to advise you that this is a generous offer. If you reject it, he might fight harder. This could drag on for years. Let it drag. I'm not giving him the satisfaction of buying my silence. What do you want then? Good question. What did she want? The house, Lydia said. Just the house. He can keep everything else, the investments, the business assets, all of it. But I want the Belgravia house, free and clear, in my name. That's it? That's it. He'll probably agree to that. It's worth less than what he's offering. I know, but it's mine. I lived there. I made it a home. He just slept there sometimes. Tell him he can have everything else if I can have that. And the NDA? Absolutely not. The attorney was quiet for a moment. You're playing hardball. No, I'm playing honest. I don't want his money. I just want the one thing that was actually mine. I'll make the call. Lydia hung up. Adrian was watching her with an unreadable expression. The house? He said. It's all I want from him. Everything else is tainted. But the house, I don't know. It feels like taking back something that belonged to me. What will you do with it? I have no idea. Sell it maybe, or burn it down. Haven't decided yet. Adrian laughed. Actually laughed. You've changed. Have I? Or am I just remembering who I was? Both, maybe. Lydia's phone buzzed again. This time it was Charlotte. Please, I know you don't owe me anything, but I need to talk to you just once. Lydia showed the message to Adrian. Do you want to meet her? He asked. Part of me does. Part of me wants to tell her to go to hell. So, tell her to go to hell. But what if she was being used too? What if she actually thought Victor was free? Then she's naive. But that's not your problem. Lydia stared at the message. Charlotte had been part of her humiliation, had smiled in photos while being called Mrs. Hale, had attended events on Victor's arm while Lydia sat at home, but Charlotte had also looked devastated at the gala, shocked, like she'd genuinely not known about the transition plan. I'll meet her, Lydia said, but on my terms, in public, with witnesses. Want me to come? No, this one I need to do alone. She texted Charlotte back. Coffee, Monday afternoon. I'll send you the location. Charlotte's response was immediate. Thank you, I'll be there. The rest of Sunday passed in a strange blur. Lydia stayed in Adrian's apartment, avoiding the world. Her old phone, the one she'd turned off, had over 200 unread messages. She didn't look at any of them. Sarah called the new number around noon. Are you alive? Sarah demanded. Mostly. I've been losing my mind. You destroyed your marriage on camera and then disappeared. I thought Victor might have killed you. I'm fine. I'm at Adrian's. Wait, you're living with him now? Temporarily, I think. I don't know. Everything's weird. Everything's incredible. Do you know how many people are calling Victor a sociopath online? He's finished, Lydia. Absolutely finished. Good. You sound different. I feel different. Good different or falling apart different? Lydia thought about it. Both. Neither. I don't know yet. Well, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. You looked like a warrior at that gala. I felt like I was having a heart attack. Nobody could tell. You were perfect. I wasn't trying to be perfect. I was trying to survive. Same thing sometimes. After they hung up, Lydia found herself wandering around Adrian's apartment. It was strange being here. Everything was familiar and foreign at the same time. She'd lived here once, years ago. Different furniture now, but the bones were the same. You're pacing, Adrian said from the doorway. I'm thinking. About? Everything. Nothing. What happens next? What do you want to happen next? Lydia turned to face him. Why do you keep asking me that? Because you spent 8 years not asking yourself. Someone should. What if I don't have good answers? Then you figure them out as you go. That's not very reassuring. Life rarely is. Lydia sat on the couch. Adrian joined her, keeping a careful distance. Not crowding, just present. I met Charlotte tomorrow, Lydia said. I know, you told me. I don't know what I'm going to say to her. You'll figure it out when you see her. What if I can't? What if I just sit there hating her? Then you sit there hating her. That's allowed. Is it? It feels petty. Feelings aren't petty. They just are. Lydia looked at him. When did you get so wise? 8 years of therapy and watching you from a distance changes a person. You went to therapy? After you left, I was a mess. Needed help processing it. That surprised her. I didn't know that. You weren't supposed to. You were gone, living your life. I wasn't going to burden you with my damage. I'm sorry, Lydia said quietly. For what? For leaving. For hurting you. Don't be. You needed to leave. I understood that even when it killed me. Did you hate me? Never. Not even once. I was angry, sad, broken. But I never hated you. Lydia felt tears threatening. I hated myself for leaving. I know. But I couldn't stay. I was drowning, Adrian. In the intensity. In being yours. I forgot how to be mine. I know that too. And then I left and tried to be someone else's. And that was worse. At least with you, I was drowning in too much. With Victor, I was drowning in nothing. Adrian reached over and took her hand. You're not drowning now. No. Now I'm just floating. No idea where I'm going. That's called freedom. It's terrifying. Most good things are. They sat there in silence for a while. Lydia's hand in his, the city humming outside the windows. Can I ask you something? Lydia said. Anything. If I hadn't come back, if I'd never texted you, would you have moved on eventually? Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Honestly, I don't know. I tried. Dated other people. Never stuck. Everyone else felt like a placeholder for you. That's not healthy. I know, that's what the therapist said. But knowing something isn't healthy and being able to change it are different things. What changed? Nothing. You came back. And if I leave again, then I'll deal with it. But this time I know you can survive without me. That helps. Does it? No, but it sounds good. Lydia laughed despite herself. You're impossible. You're the one who married me. Twice, technically. We're not married now. Not yet. The words hung at the air. Not yet. Like it was inevitable. Like they were always going to end up back here. Adrian, I know. Too soon. Too much. Too everything. I'm not proposing. I'm just stating facts. What facts? That I love you, that I've always loved you, that if you want to build a life with me again, I'm here, and if you don't, I'll survive. Those are the facts. Lydia didn't know what to say to that, so she said nothing, just held his hand and watched the sunset turn the city gold. Monday came too fast. Lydia got dressed in clothes that had been delivered that morning. Adrian had sent someone to get things from the Belgravia house. Mrs. Chen had packed carefully. Everything Lydia actually cared about. None of the beige, shapeless things Victor had preferred. She chose dark jeans and a black sweater. Simple. Armored. The coffee shop was in Notting Hill. Neutral territory. Public enough to feel safe, but quiet enough to talk. Charlotte was already there when Lydia arrived. She looked terrible. Hair pulled back messily. No makeup. Dark circles under her eyes. She was wearing jeans and a hoodie, like she'd given up on being the polished woman from the photos. Thank you for coming, Charlotte said when Lydia sat down. I almost didn't. I wouldn't have blamed you. They sat in awkward silence. The barista brought Lydia's coffee. She wrapped her hands around it for something to do. I didn't know, Charlotte said finally, about the transition plan, about the apartment being a setup. He told me you two were separated, that the divorce was already in progress. And you believed him? Yes. I know how that sounds, but he was convincing. He said you'd agreed to separate quietly, that you preferred privacy. Did you ever think to ask me? Charlotte's face flushed. No, I should have. But I thought you knew about me and didn't care. I didn't know about you at all until 2 weeks ago. I'm so sorry. Are you? Or are you just sorry you got caught? Charlotte flinched. Both, probably. I don't know. I'm sorry for my part in your humiliation. I'm sorry I didn't question Victor more. I'm sorry I let myself believe what was convenient. Why did you want to meet me? Lydia asked. What's the point of this? I wanted you to know that I'm done. With Victor. With all of it. I quit my job. I'm moving out of the apartment. I needed you to know that I'm not trying to take your place anymore. There is no place. I'm divorcing him. I know, but I wanted to apologize anyway for what I did, even if I didn't fully understand what I was doing. Lydia studied her. Charlotte looked genuinely miserable, broken almost. Did you love him? Lydia asked. Charlotte's eyes filled with tears. I thought I did. Now, I don't know if I loved him or the idea of him. The successful businessman, the cultured man, the life he represented. That's what I loved too, Lydia said quietly. The idea of normal, of simple, of being someone's wife and that being enough. Was it ever enough? No. But I kept trying to make it be. Charlotte wiped her eyes. He's calling me, constantly, saying it's all a misunderstanding, that we can fix this. Are you going to? No. I saw who he really is at that gala, the way he looked at you with such contempt, like you were nothing. I don't want to be with someone who can look at another person like that. Even though he looked at me that way because of you? Especially because of that. It means one day he'll look at me the same way. Lydia nodded slowly. You're probably right. For what it's worth, you were incredible that night, the way you just owned it, told the truth, didn't apologize. I wanted to die. You didn't look like it. You looked powerful. I felt like I was burning my life down. Maybe you were, but sometimes things need to burn so something better can grow. They sat in silence for a moment. What will you do now? Lydia asked. I don't know. Start over somewhere, maybe leave London. Too many memories here. That's probably smart. What about you? I don't know either. Figure it out as I go, I guess. Charlotte stood. I should go. Thank you for meeting me. I know I didn't deserve it. Probably not, but I needed to see you, to understand. Do you? Understand? Lydia thought about it. Yeah, I think so. You wanted to be someone important. Be seen. Victor offered you that. You took it. I don't blame you for that. I blame you for not asking questions, for being willing to participate in my erasure because it was easier than confronting the truth. That's fair? But I also get it. I did the same thing in my marriage. Didn't ask questions, accepted easy lies, made myself small because it was convenient. Charlotte nodded. She looked like she might cry again. Good luck, Lydia said. Really? I hope you find whatever you're looking for. You too. Charlotte left. Lydia sat there, finishing her coffee. She didn't feel good exactly, but she felt lighter, like confronting Charlotte had closed something that needed closing. Her phone rang. The attorney. He accepted, the attorney said. The house is yours. He's keeping everything else. No NDA. He's just glad you're not asking for more. When can I move back in? Technically, now. He moved out yesterday, took his things. The house is empty. That was fast. He wants this over. Bad press is killing his business. 3 of his partners pulled out this morning. He's desperate to make this go away. Good. The divorce will take a few months to finalize, but the property transfer can happen this week. Do it. Lydia hung up and sat there. The house was hers. She could go home, except it didn't feel like home anymore. She went back to Adrian's apartment, found him in his office working on something that looked complicated and boring. "How'd it go?" he asked. "Fine. She's not as terrible as I wanted her to be." Disappointing. A little. Would have been easier to hate her. Hate's always easier than understanding. Lydia sat in the chair across from him. "I got the house." "That's good." "Is it? I don't even want to live there." "So don't sell it." "And live where?" Adrian looked at her. "That's up to you." "What if I wanted to stay here for a while?" "Then stay." "Just like that?" "Just like that." "What about us? What are we doing here, Adrian?" He set down his pen, gave her his full attention. "What do you want us to be doing?" "I don't know. I'm barely divorced. This is too fast." "Who says there's a right speed?" "Society. Common sense. Every romantic comedy ever made." "None of those things matter." "They should." "Why? You spent 8 years doing what you should do. How'd that work out?" Lydia laughed bitterly. "Fair point. So stop shooting yourself and just be. If you want to stay here, stay. If you want your own place, get one. If you want to figure out what the hell we are to each other, we'll figure it out. There's no rule book here." "That's terrifying." "Good. Being scared means you're alive." Lydia looked at him. Adrian Volkov, who'd let her go once and taken her back without question, who loved her enough to not demand anything, who was giving her space to figure herself out, even though she could see how much he wanted to just pull her close and never let go. "I'm a mess," she said. "I know. I don't know who I am anymore." "Then figure it out." "What if I figure out I'm someone you don't even like?" "Not possible." "How do you know?" "Because I've seen you at your worst and your best and everything between, and I've loved all of it. So whoever you turn out to be, I'll probably love that too." Lydia felt tears again. "That's a lot of pressure." "Then don't think of it as pressure. Think of it as permission. Permission to be whoever you actually are, instead of whoever you think you should be." "I don't know how to do that." "Yes, you do. You did it at the gala. You told the truth. You stood up for yourself. You stopped being invisible. That's who you are. That's who you've always been under all the bullshit." Lydia wiped her eyes. "I should probably go to therapy." "Probably. I can give you my therapist's number." "You're still going?" "Weekly. Turns out getting what you want after 8 years of waiting is just as hard to process as not getting it." That surprised her. "You're struggling?" "Of course I'm struggling. You're here, but you're not really here. You're mine, but you're not really mine. You're figuring yourself out, and I have to just watch and hope you figure yourself toward me and not away. It's torture. I'm sorry. Don't be. I chose this. I'd choose it again. But yeah, I'm struggling." They looked at each other across the desk, two broken people trying to figure out how to be whole again. "What if we're not good for each other?" Lydia asked quietly. "What if we are? What if I leave again? Then I'll survive. Again. What if we try this and it doesn't work? Then at least we tried. At least we didn't spend the rest of our lives wondering what if." Lydia stood, walked around the desk. Adrian watched her, cautious hope on his face. She sat on the edge of his desk, close enough to touch. "I can't promise you anything," she said. "I can't promise I'll stay. I can't promise I'll figure myself out into someone you can build a life with. I can't promise this won't be a disaster. I'm not asking for promises." "What are you asking for?" "A chance. That's all. Just a chance to see where this goes." Lydia looked at him. Really looked. Adrian Volkov, the most dangerous man she'd ever met, looking at her like she was the only thing that mattered. "Okay," she said. "Okay?" "Okay, we'll try. No promises, no expectations. Just trying." Adrian's smile was worth everything. "That's all I need." 3 months later, Lydia stood in the Belgravia house for the last time. The movers had taken everything she wanted. The rest was being donated or thrown away. The house was empty now, just walls and memories. She walked through each room, the kitchen where she'd made coffee alone for years, the morning room where she'd found Victor's laptop, the bedroom where she'd stopped being a wife long before the marriage actually ended, None of it hurt anymore. It was just space, just rooms that used to mean something. Sarah came to pick her up. "You okay?" Sarah asked. "Yeah. Actually, yeah." "No regrets?" "About the house?" "No." "About the marriage?" "Some, but not the way I thought I would." "What do you mean?" "I regret making myself small. I regret not fighting sooner, but I don't regret leaving. That was the smartest thing I've done in years." They walked out together. Lydia locked the door for the last time. The house had sold for more than she expected, more than enough to start over, to build something new. She was living with Adrian still, not because she had to, because she wanted to. They were figuring it out, slowly, messily. But honestly, she'd started working again, not at a gallery, something different. She was consulting for auction houses, using her knowledge in a way that felt powerful instead of passive. She'd also started writing, nothing published yet, just processing, putting words to everything she'd felt but never said. Victor had disappeared from public life. His business had collapsed. Most of his partners had left. He'd moved to the countryside somewhere. Lydia didn't care enough to find out where. Charlotte had left London, sent Lydia a card saying she was in Edinburgh, starting over. Lydia sent her a card back. No hard feelings. Just two women who'd both been used by the same small man. The divorce had finalized 2 weeks ago. Lydia Hale had officially ceased to exist. Now she was just Lydia, not Kane, not Volkov, not anything but herself. "Where to?" Sarah asked as they drove away. "Home," Lydia said. "Adrian's place?" "Yeah, for now. Maybe permanently. Haven't decided yet." "You two seem good." "We are. Different than before. Better, I think." "Because you're different." "Because we both are. He's not trying to own me. I'm not trying to disappear. We're just being. That's healthy. It's weird, but good weird." Sarah dropped her off at Adrian's building. Lydia took the elevator up. Adrian was in the kitchen making dinner. He looked up when she came in. "How'd it go?" "Fine. The house is empty. Officially someone else's problem now." "How do you feel?" "Free." He smiled. "Good." Lydia joined him at the stove. "What are you making?" "Attempting pasta. Emphasis on attempting." "You're terrible at cooking." "I know, but you like it when I try." "I like that you burn things and don't care." "Low bar." "Maybe. But it's nice. Victor wouldn't cook if it wasn't perfect." "You don't care if it's a disaster." "Life's a disaster anyway. Might as well enjoy it." They ate burnt pasta and drank wine and talked about nothing important, just existing together. Later, lying in bed, Lydia said, "Do you think we'll make it?" "Make what?" "This. Us. Whatever we're doing." Adrian pulled her closer. "I think we'll try. And that's better than not trying. What if trying isn't enough? Then at least we'll know. At least we won't spend our lives wondering." Lydia thought about that, about all the years she'd spent not trying, not fighting, not asking for what she wanted because it seemed too hard or too much or too something. "I'm glad I came back," she said quietly. "Me too. Even though I'm still figuring things out, especially because of that. You're becoming yourself. That's worth watching. What if you don't like who I become? Not possible. I've seen glimpses of who you really are. She's incredible. You're biased. Absolutely, but also right." Lydia smiled in the dark. Outside, London hummed. Inside, she felt something she hadn't felt in 8 years. Peace. Not the peace of giving up, the peace of fighting for herself and winning. She'd been erased from her own life, and she'd erased herself back in, on her terms, in her time, with her rules. Victor had tried to make her disappear. Instead, she'd made him irrelevant. And now she was here, in Adrian's arms, in a life she was building instead of enduring. It wasn't perfect. It was messy and complicated and uncertain. But it was hers. And that made all the difference. The woman who dropped a champagne glass 3 months ago and discovered she didn't exist was gone. In her place was someone stronger, someone who knew her worth, someone who wouldn't settle for being invisible ever again. Lydia Hale had been erased. But Lydia, just Lydia, had come back. And this time, she was staying. Not because someone needed her to, not because it was expected, not because it was safe or simple or easy, but because she chose it. And that choice, that simple act of deciding she mattered, changed everything. She fell asleep thinking about a robin on a fountain, how it had drunk its fill and flown away, how easy it had looked. Turns out, it was that easy. You just had to decide you were worth the flight.